The clock in Doyun's car showed 11:47 p.m. when he finally pulled into his driveway. His eyes felt heavy, and his shoulders ached from 16 straight hours at the hospital. Being an emergency room nurse meant long shifts. But tonight had been especially brutal. 3 car accidents, 2 heart attacks, and 1 kitchen fire victim. He was ready to collapse into bed. He grabbed his bag from the passenger seat and stepped out into the cool night air. The street was quiet. His neighbors had their lights off. Everything looked normal and peaceful, exactly how a Thursday night should look in this boring suburban neighborhood. Then he saw her. At first, Doyun thought someone had left a pile of garbage on his porch. But as he walked closer, his nurse instincts kicked in. That wasn't garbage. That was a body. A very large body. He rushed forward and stopped dead in his tracks. The woman sprawled across his porch steps was not human. She stood at least 7 feet tall. Even lying down, he could tell. Her skin had a slight blue-gray tint that caught the moonlight. She wore armor that looked like it had been through a war, dented and scorched in places. But the most shocking thing was her arms. She had 4 of them. 2 hung limp at her sides, clearly injured. The other 2 were tucked against her chest. Strange silver-blue blood pooled beneath her, reflecting the porch light like liquid mercury. Doyun's heart pounded. He should call the police. He should call somebody official. The government had hotlines for this kind of thing now, ever since aliens started visiting Earth 50 years ago. But those hotlines meant questions, paperwork, and hours of waiting. This woman was dying right now. He knelt beside her and checked for a pulse. Her skin felt warm, almost hot. He found a pulse point on her neck, strong, but irregular. She was alive, but in bad shape. Okay, he whispered to himself. Just another patient. You've handled worse. He hadn't handled worse. He'd never handled an alien before. But his training took over anyway. Doyun unlocked his front door and turned on all the lights. Then he came back to the porch and tried to figure out how to move her. She had to weigh at least 300 pounds, maybe more, with all that armor. He was strong from years of lifting patients. But this would be a challenge. He hooked his arms under her shoulders and pulled. She barely moved. He tried again, grunting with effort. Slowly, inch by inch, he dragged her across the porch and through his doorway. By the time he got her into his dining room, sweat poured down his face. He couldn't get her upstairs to a bed. The dining table would have to work. Thank God he'd bought that heavy-duty table last year. He pushed off his fruit bowl and the stack of mail. Then, with one final heave, he rolled her onto the table. The table creaked but held. Doyun ran to get his medical supplies. He kept a well-stocked first aid kit at home, plus some supplies he'd borrowed from the hospital over the years. Nothing in his training covered alien biology, but bleeding was bleeding. He had to stop it first. He cut away the damaged parts of her armor with heavy scissors. Underneath, he found 3 deep wounds across her ribs and stomach. The silver-blue blood oozed steadily. He pressed gauze against the wounds, applying pressure. The blood soaked through immediately. He tried different materials. Regular bandages dissolved on contact with her blood. Plastic wrap seemed to work better. He used strips of plastic wrap and medical tape, creating makeshift pressure dressings. The bleeding slowed. Her 2 injured arms hung at wrong angles. Broken. Definitely. He couldn't set alien bones, but he could immobilize them. He used splints and wrapped them carefully, keeping the arms stable against her body. As he worked, he noticed details. Her face had features similar to a human's, but sharper, more angular. Her eyes were closed, but he could see they were larger than human eyes. Markings on her skin looked like tattoos, but they seemed to glow faintly, pulsing with a dim light. Were they just decorations? Or did they serve some biological purpose? 2 weapons lay strapped to her belt. They looked like guns, but made of materials he didn't recognize. They hummed softly, vibrating with some kind of energy. He carefully unstrapped them and put them on the kitchen counter. far away from where he was working. He started an IV line, hoping her biology was close enough to human that saline solution wouldn't hurt her. The needle went in smoothly. Her veins were in similar places to human veins, which was a relief. He hung the bag on his dining room light fixture. For 2 hours, Do-yoon worked on her. He cleaned wounds, applied medications, monitored her vital signs as best he could. Her breathing seemed more stable. Her pulse evened out. The glowing marks on her skin began to pulse more regularly, which he took as a good sign. He was checking her pupils with a flashlight when her eyes suddenly snapped open. Do-yoon jerked back, startled. Her eyes were gold. Bright gold. With vertical pupils like a cat's. They focused on him with frightening intensity. Before he could speak, one of her good arms shot out and grabbed his wrist. Her grip was incredibly strong, crushing. He gasped in pain. "Wait," he said quickly. "I'm helping you. I'm a nurse." She stared at him for a long moment. Her gold eyes studied his face, his clothes, the medical supplies around them. She seemed to be processing where she was and what had happened. Her grip loosened slightly, but she didn't let go. Her mouth moved, and sounds came out that weren't any language he knew. Clicks and whistles mixed with deeper tones. She was trying to speak. Then she switched to broken English, her accent thick and strange. "What children?" Do-yoon asked. "Are there children hurt?" "Where?" "Ship," she said. "Crashed. Children, scattered. Must find, before they die." Her eyes rolled back, and her grip released. She fell unconscious again, her breathing shallow. Do-yoon stood there, his wrist throbbing where she'd grabbed him. Children. A crashed ship. What had he gotten himself into? He should call someone. This was bigger than him. But something in her desperate voice made him hesitate. She'd said the children would die. How long did they have? Would the authorities move fast enough? He was still debating when he heard a sound that made his blood run cold. His front door, which he'd closed but forgotten to lock, crashed open. 3 figures entered his house. They were shorter than the woman on his table, maybe 5.5 feet tall, but they looked dangerous. They wore dark armor, covered in sharp edges. Their heads were insect-like, with multiple eyes and mandibles that clicked together as they communicated. One of them held a device that beeped steadily. A tracker. They'd been following her. The lead figure pointed at the woman on the table, and then at Do-yoon. A mechanical voice came from a device on its chest, translating its clicks into English. "Human, step away from the rail. This does not concern you. We are authorized bounty hunters. She is our contract. Move aside." Do-yoon looked at the unconscious woman, then back at the armed intruders. Every instinct screamed at him to get out of the way. These weren't muggers or drunk patients he could talk down. These were alien hunters with weapons he didn't understand, but he thought about what she'd said. Children. Do-yoon stepped in front of the table, placing himself between the hunters and the injured woman. "No," he said simply. "Get out of my house." The 3 hunters looked at each other. Then, they started laughing. A horrible, chittering sound that made his skin crawl. The lead hunter raised its weapon, pointing it directly at Do-yoon's chest. The weapon in the hunter's hand glowed with a sickly green light. Do-yoon's mouth went dry, but he held his ground. His legs trembled, but he didn't move. "Last warning, human," the mechanical translator said. "We have no quarrel with you. Step aside, or die with her." Do-yoon's mind raced. He wasn't a fighter. He was a nurse, a single father, with an 8-year-old daughter. What was he doing? But he looked at the woman behind him, broken and helpless, and he couldn't make himself move. "In my house," Do-yoon said, surprised his voice didn't shake. "An injured person is my patient. That's my rule." The lead hunter made a sound that might have been a sigh. It gestured to the other 2. "Move him." The closest hunter stepped forward and reached for Do-yoon with a clawed hand. Do-yoon reacted without thinking. He grabbed the pot of coffee he'd made earlier, still sitting on the counter, and threw the hot liquid directly into the hunter's face. The creature shrieked and stumbled backward, clawing at its eyes. The other two turned toward their companion. Distracted for just a second, Do-yoon grabbed the kitchen knife from the block and held it in front of him. His hands shook now. The knife looked pathetically small compared to their weapons. The lead hunter turned back to him, and Do-yoon saw something like amusement in its multiple eyes. "Brave," it said. "Foolish, but brave." It raised its weapon again. Do-yoon closed his eyes, thinking of Nari. His daughter would wake up tomorrow morning and find out her father died trying to save an alien stranger. She'd think he was stupid. She'd be right. A blast of sound made his ears ring, but Do-yoon wasn't hit. He opened his eyes and saw the lead hunter falling backward, a smoking hole in its chest. Behind him, the woman, Kaya, had grabbed one of her weapons from the kitchen counter. She was half sitting, half lying on the table, one working arm extended, firing. She fired again and caught the second hunter in the shoulder. It spun and returned fire. The blast hit the wall behind her, leaving a burning hole in Do-yoon's wallpaper. The third hunter, the one Do-yoon had hit with coffee, was recovering. It raised its weapon toward Kaya. She was too weak to dodge. Do-yoon acted on instinct. He jumped forward and slammed into the hunter from the side. It was like hitting a wall. The creature barely moved, but its shot went wide, blasting through his front window instead. The hunter backhanded him casually. Pain exploded across Do-yoon's face, and he flew backward, crashing into his bookshelf. Books rained down on him. He tasted blood in his mouth. Through blurry vision, he saw Kaya slide off the table. She shouldn't be able to stand. She'd lost too much blood, had too many injuries. But somehow she stayed on her feet. Swaying, she fought with a grace that seemed impossible for someone so injured. Even with only 2 working arms, she moved like water, like violence given form. She caught the third hunter's next shot on her armor, then closed the distance between them. The fight was brief and brutal. Kaya's fist, moving faster than Do-yoon could track, struck the hunter's throat. Something crunched. The hunter fell. The second hunter, wounded but alive, scrambled for the door. Kaya let it go, too weak to chase. Then she collapsed. Do-yoon pushed himself up, ignoring his own pain. He crawled to where Kaya lay on the floor. She was breathing, barely. Her wounds had reopened. Silver-blue blood spread across his hardwood floor. "Why?" she whispered, looking at him with those gold eyes. "Why defend me? I am nothing to you." "One." Looking at him. "One." Do-yoon pressed gauze against her worst wound, applying pressure. "You said something about protecting children," he managed to say through his split lip. "That's enough reason for me." She stared at him like he was speaking a foreign language. Maybe, to her, he was. He got her back onto the table somehow. His body screamed in protest, but he ignored it. He cleaned her wounds again, reapplied dressings, checked her vital signs. The IV bag was almost empty. He replaced it with a new one. Dawn light started creeping through his broken window. He'd been up all night. His body felt like one giant bruise. He had to pick up Nari from his sister's house in 3 hours. Kaya's eyes opened again. This time they were clearer, more focused. "You are injured," she said. Her English better than before. "I'm fine," Do-yoon said automatically. It was a lie. His face was swelling, his ribs hurt, and he was pretty sure he had a concussion. "Your species is strange," Kaya said quietly. "Weak, but you fight anyway. Soft, but you protect strangers. The galaxy thinks humans are dangerous because you're unpredictable. Now I understand why." Do-yoon cleaned a cut on his forehead with a wet cloth. "Can you tell me what's going on? Who were those things?" Kaya took a slow breath. "Bounty hunters. Velic species. They work for slavers." She paused, gathering strength. I am Sentinel Kaya, of the Vrail. I guard those who cannot guard themselves. 2 days ago, I was escorting a refugee ship. Children, 23 of them, fleeing a war. Different species. All young, all alone. What happened? Doyun asked. Slavers attacked. They wanted the children. Young ones bring high prices. Her jaw tightened with anger. I couldn't fight them all and protect the ship. So I led them away. Created a diversion. Let the ship escape. Did it work? The ship escaped, yes. But it was damaged. The pilot sent a distress signal before she died. The ship crashed on this world. On Earth. The children are scattered in their emergency pods. I tracked the crash site to this region, but the Velik found me first. Doyun felt his stomach drop. How long do the children have? The pods have limited life support. Air, water, basic nutrients. Maybe 48 hours from the crash. It happened last night. That's not much time, Doyun said. No. Kaya agreed. It is not. And I am too injured to search for them alone. I will try, but I will likely fail. They will die in their pods, alone and afraid. Her voice cracked slightly. I failed them. Doyun looked at her. He thought about Nari. If she were alone, scared, trapped in some alien pod waiting to die, he'd want someone to help her. Anyone. Even a stranger. I'll help you, he heard himself say. Kaya's eyes widened. You cannot. You have already done more than any stranger should. I'm a father, Doyun said simply. I have a daughter, 8 years old. If she needed help, I'd hope someone would help her. Even if it was hard. Even if it was dangerous. You could die, Kaya said. The Velik will return with more hunters. There may be others searching for the children. Probably, Doyun agreed. He was terrified, actually. His hands still shook when he thought about those weapons pointed at him, but he also couldn't imagine doing nothing. Do you know where the crash site is? Kaya reached for a device on her belt. It was damaged, but still flickering with light. My scanner picked up the general location. A forest area. Maybe 10 of your miles from here. The pods scattered on impact. They could be anywhere in a 20-mile radius. The forest preserve, Doyun said. I know that area. His phone rang, making them both jump. Doyun picked it up and saw his sister's name on the screen. Doyun, his sister Mireille said when he answered. Turn on the news. Something crashed in the forest preserve last night. They're saying it might be alien. There are military trucks everywhere. Doyun looked at Kaya. She looked back at him, and he saw the desperate hope in her gold eyes. I'll call you back, he told his sister, and hung up. He turned on his TV. Sure enough, the news showed helicopter footage of the forest preserve. Military vehicles surrounded the area. Reporters talked excitedly about an unidentified crash site. They'll find the children first, Kaya said quietly. You're military. What will they do with alien children? 10. Doyun thought about that. He wanted to believe his government would help them, but he also knew bureaucracy. He knew how slowly the system moved. He knew that scared officials might quarantine the children, study them, keep them locked up while they figured out what to do. 48 hours wasn't enough time for bureaucracy. We find them first, Doyun said. Can you move? Kaya tried to sit up. She managed it, barely. I can move. I heal faster than humans. In a few hours, I will be stronger. Good. I need to pick up my daughter and get some supplies. We'll start searching this afternoon. Your daughter? Kaya looked alarmed. No. You cannot bring a child into this. I can't leave her with my sister without explanation. Mireille will ask too many questions. Doyun started making a mental list of what they'd need. Besides, we might need help. 23 children scattered across 20 miles? That's a lot of ground to cover. Kaya stared at him like he'd lost his mind. Maybe he had, Humans, she muttered, are absolutely insane. Doyun couldn't argue with that. Doyun picked up Nari at 9 in the morning. His sister took one look at his face and gasped. What happened to you? Fell down the stairs. Doyun said quickly. I was tired after my shift. Mireille didn't look convinced, but Nari was already hugging his legs, happy to see him. Dad, did you see the news? An alien spaceship crashed. Can we go look? Maybe later, sweetie, Doyun said, picking her up despite his aching ribs. Let's go home first. The drive home felt long. Nari chattered about the spaceship, about aliens, about everything she'd seen on the news that morning. Doyun tried to figure out how to explain what waited at home. He couldn't. There was no good way to explain it. When they walked through the front door, Nari stopped talking immediately. She stared at the broken window, the blast marks on the walls, the books scattered everywhere. Dad? Her voice was small. What happened? Nari, I need you to listen carefully, Doyun started. That's when Kaya appeared at the top of the basement stairs. Nari screamed. Kaya froze. Doyun put himself between them instinctively, even though he knew Kaya wouldn't hurt his daughter. It's okay, he said quickly. Nari, it's okay. She's a friend. She won't hurt you. Nari peeked around him, her eyes huge. She's an alien, she whispered. Yes, Doyun said. Her name is Kaya. She needs our help. Kaya, to her credit, slowly knelt down, making herself smaller. She kept her hands visible, 2 injured arms held against her chest. 2 good arms, spread peacefully. Hello, small human, Kaya said softly. I apologize for frightening you. I mean no harm. Nari stared at her for a long moment. Then, in the way that only children could, she accepted the impossible and moved on. You have 4 arms, Nari said. That's so cool. Are those tattoos? Do they glow? Why are your eyes yellow? Doyun almost laughed. Leave it to an 8-year-old to skip past fear straight to curiosity. They are not tattoos, Kaya said, a hint of a smile on her face. They are biomarkings. They show my rank and honor. And yes, they glow. Are you a superhero? Nari asked. I am a sentinel, a protector. That's basically a superhero, Nari decided. She looked at Doyun. Dad, why is she here? Doyun knelt down next to his daughter. She needs help finding some children who are lost. Will you help us? Nari nodded immediately. Okay. Are they aliens too? Yes, Doyun said. They're scared and alone. We need to find them before bad people do. Like a rescue mission? Nari's eyes lit up. Exactly like a rescue mission. An hour later, they were in Doyun's car driving toward the forest preserve. Kaya sat in the back, hunched over to fit her tall frame. She wore one of Doyun's largest hoodies, hood up, hiding her features. It looked ridiculous on her, but it was better than nothing. Nari sat next to her, asking a million questions. Kaya answered patiently, her English improving with each sentence. Doyun pulled into a parking area near the forest. Military checkpoints blocked the main roads, but he knew hiking trails that would get them close. Kaya pulled out her damaged scanner. The screen flickered but showed multiple small dots scattered across a map display. Life signs, she said. The scanner detects biosignatures from the children's species. I count 18 signals in range. 5 must be further out. We start with the closest ones, Doyun said. They hiked into the forest. Kaya moved stiffly, still healing, but she was stronger than she'd been that morning. Nari bounded ahead with the endless energy of children, then circled back to them. The first pod was half a mile into the woods, hidden in a ravine. It looked like a large silver egg, about 4 feet tall. Burn marks covered one side where it had entered atmosphere. Kaya approached carefully and pressed her hand to a panel. The pod hissed and opened. Inside, curled in a ball, was a small creature covered in thick brown fur. It had large eyes, pointed ears, and a long, fluffy tail. It looked like a fox mixed with a teddy bear. When the creature saw Kaya, it made a high-pitched chirping sound and tried to scramble backward. "It's okay," Kaya said, in a language Doyun didn't understand. "You're safe now." But the creature only cowered more. It was terrified. "Let me try," Nari said softly. She stepped forward, moving slowly. From her backpack, she pulled out her favorite stuffed animal, a blue bunny she'd had since she was 3. She held it out to the creature. "Hi," she said gently. "Don't be scared. We're here to help. See? I have a friend too. His name is Hoppy." The creature stared at the stuffed bunny. Then, slowly, it reached out a tiny paw and touched it. Nari smiled. "You want to hold him? You can. He's soft and safe." The creature took the bunny and hugged it close. Some of the fear left its eyes. "See?" Nari said. "You're okay now. We'll take care of you." Doyun watched in amazement as his daughter, somehow, got the frightened alien child to trust her. Within minutes, the creature was clinging to Nari, making soft, chirping sounds. "Thrin species," Kaya explained quietly. "They're naturally nervous. You have a gift with children, little Nari." They brought the Thrin child back to the car. Doyun set up a safe space in the back with blankets. The creature curled up there, still holding the stuffed bunny. 22 to go, Kaya said, checking her scanner. They found 2 more pods together an hour later. These contained siblings, Kaya explained. Silicon-based life forms that looked like living crystals. They needed high heat to survive, and their pod's heating element was failing. Doyun improvised with the chemical heat packs he'd brought. He arranged them around the children, creating a warm nest. They glowed brighter, which Kaya said meant they felt better. By late afternoon, they'd found 6 children. The Thrin, the 2 crystal siblings, and 3 others. A child that looked like a small octopus, but breathed air. One that resembled a turtle with 6 legs, and one that was almost human-looking except for purple skin and 3 eyes. They'd converted Doyun's basement into a temporary shelter. Nari had arranged blankets, toys, and coloring books. She'd even drawn welcome signs and stuck them on the walls. The children stayed quiet, scared. But Nari moved between them with the same fearless kindness she'd shown the first one. She shared her toys, offered snacks, drew pictures to communicate when words failed. "Your daughter should be a sentinel," Kaya said, watching Nari teach the 6-legged turtle child a hand-clapping game. "She has the heart for it." Doyun felt pride swell in his chest, mixed with fear. They'd found 6 children. 17 remained, and time was running out. His friend Unji called that evening. "Doyun, I need to ask you something. The pharmacy said you picked up some very strange supply requests. Industrial heat packs. 5 different types of nutritional supplements. Specialized breathing equipment. What's going on?" "Just stocking up," Doyun said weakly. "Stocking up for what? Are you okay? You sound stressed." "I'm fine, Unji." "Really?" He hung up before she could ask more questions. They couldn't keep this secret much longer. His house looked like a daycare center for alien children. His basement had blast marks on the walls. His front window was covered with cardboard. That night, they found 3 more pods. The children inside were weak but alive. They brought them home, and Nari settled them with the others. 9 children safe. 14 still out there. Kaya's injuries were healing rapidly. The glowing marks on her skin pulsed bright and steady now. She could use all 4 arms again. But she looked worried. "The Velik will return," she said quietly while Nari was busy downstairs. "They won't give up. The children are too valuable." "Can you fight them?" Doyun asked. "If I must. But there will be more than 3 next time. They'll bring a hunting pack." She looked at him seriously. "You should take Nari and go. Leave the city. I'll handle this." "No," Doyun said. "We're in this together." "Why?" Kaya asked, frustrated. Why do you keep risking yourself for strangers? Do-yun thought about that. When I became a nurse, I took an oath. First, do no harm. Help those who need help. It doesn't matter if they're human or alien. A child is a child. Kaya shook her head. Your species is so strange. Most races in the galaxy wouldn't do this. They'd demand payment, or call authorities, or simply look away. Then most races in the galaxy are missing something important, Do-yun said. The next morning, his neighbor Hyunsu knocked on the door. He was a retired teacher, nosy but kind. Do-yun, I heard strange noises last night. And I saw your window. Is everything all right? Everything's fine, Do-yun said, blocking the doorway. Just some renovations. Renovations? Hyunsu tried to peek inside. At midnight, behind Do-yun, one of the children made a chirping sound. Hyunsu's eyes widened. Was that a bird? You don't have birds. Got a new pet? Do-yun said quickly. What kind of pet sounds like that? Exotic bird. Very rare. Hyunsu looked suspicious but finally left. Do-yun closed the door and leaned against it. Heart pounding. They were running out of time in every way possible. 14 children still lost. The military crawling all over the forest. Nosy neighbors asking questions. Velic hunters planning their return. That afternoon, while searching for the 10th pod, they found something else. Humans in black tactical gear, heavily armed, with a corporate logo on their shoulders. HFY Industries. A private military contractor. They had one of the pods. Inside, a small alien child cried. One of the men saw them. He raised his weapon. Stay back. This is corporate property now. Kaya's hand moved to her weapon. Do-yun saw the situation spiraling. Too many guns. Too many ways for people to die. He stepped forward. Hands raised. That's not property, he said. That's a child. The man smiled coldly. Corporate contract says otherwise. Salvage rights. These specimens are worth millions. Before anyone could react, a net gun fired. The net wrapped around Kaya, and electricity crackled through it. She collapsed, stunned. Dad! Nari screamed. Rough hands grabbed Do-yun. A bag went over his head. Someone picked up Nari, despite her kicks and screams. The last thing Do-yun heard before everything went black was the child in the pod, crying for help in a language he didn't understand. Do-yun woke with his head pounding. The bag was gone, but his hands were zip-tied behind his back. He sat in a cold metal chair, in what looked like a warehouse, converted into a laboratory. Bright lights hung from the ceiling. Medical equipment lined the walls, the kind used for research, not healing. Nari sat in a chair next to him, also tied up. Dad, she whispered when she saw him wake up. Are you okay? I'm okay, sweetie, he lied. His head throbbed where they'd hit him. Are you hurt? No. But I'm scared. I know. Me too. Across the room, Kaya hung suspended in some kind of energy field. It glowed blue around her, keeping her frozen in place. Her eyes were open, aware, furious. She couldn't move or speak. The children they'd rescued, all 9 of them, were in glass cages along one wall. They cried and made frightened sounds. The Thrin child still clutched Nari's stuffed bunny. A door opened, and a man in an expensive suit walked in. He was maybe 50, with graying hair and cold eyes. 2 armed guards followed him. Good, you're awake, the man said in Korean. I'm Tae-jin, Chief Operations Officer of HFY Industries. You've caused us quite a bit of trouble. Let my daughter go, Do-yun said immediately. She's just a child. She has nothing to do with this. Unfortunately, she has everything to do with this, Tae-jin said. Do-yun's blood ran cold. You can't. I can do whatever I want, Tae-jin interrupted. Do you know how much these specimens are worth? Each one represents years of research potential. Alien biology, technology, medical applications, we're talking about billions of dollars. They're children, Doyun said. Not specimens, Taejin shrugged. Children, specimens, what's the difference? They're not human. They're resources. The galaxy will come looking for them. Doyun said desperately. You can't just steal alien children and expect no consequences. The galaxy? Taejin laughed. The galaxy doesn't care about Earth. We're nobodies to them. They haven't even invited us to their council. No one will come looking because no one considers us important enough to investigate. He walked closer to Doyun. But that's going to change. With the technology we reverse engineer from these specimens, Earth will force the galaxy to notice us. We'll be powerful. You'll be criminals, Doyun said. History is written by the powerful, Taejin replied. No one remembers crimes when you win. He gestured to his guards. Take them to holding. We'll deal with them after we've secured all the specimens. The guards grabbed Doyun and Nari, dragging them toward a back room. Doyun struggled, but the zip ties held firm. Wait, Nari said suddenly. You're going to keep us locked up? Taejin paused. For now. Don't worry, little girl. It won't hurt much when we... My dad sent a message before you caught us, Nari interrupted. Her voice shook, but she kept talking. To his friend, at the hospital. If we don't check in soon, she'll call the police. Taejin studied her. You're lying. Am I? Nari looked him straight in the eye, and Doyun felt a surge of pride. His brave, smart daughter. Taejin frowned. He pulled out a phone and made a call. Check the man's phone records. See who he's been calling. They waited in tense silence. Doyun's mind raced. Nari was bluffing, but it was a good bluff. Maybe it would buy them time. Taejin's phone buzzed. He listened, then swore. He did send messages. Multiple people. His sister, a hospital colleague, someone named Unji. He glared at Doyun. You've been documenting this? Doyun hadn't been. Not really. He'd just been answering worried texts. But he nodded anyway. I'm not stupid. Insurance. In case something went wrong. Taejin's face went red. You've complicated things significantly. He thought for a moment, then made a decision. Fine. We'll have to accelerate the timeline. Get the specimens prepped for transport. We're moving them to our offshore facility tonight. What about them? A guard gestured to Doyun and Nari. Loose ends, Taejin said coldly. Handle it after we're gone. The guard nodded. Doyun's heart sank. They were going to kill them. The guards pushed them into a storage room and locked the door. It was dark except for a small window near the ceiling. Doyun immediately started working on the zip ties, trying to break them or slip free. Dad, I'm sorry I lied, Nari whispered. Don't be sorry. That was smart thinking. You bought us time, but not enough. Doyun wanted to argue, but she was right. They needed a miracle. They got one, but not the kind he expected. Through the small window, Doyun heard a commotion. Shouting. A loud crash. The sound of energy weapons firing. What's happening? Nari asked. Doyun stood on his tiptoes and looked through the window. What he saw made no sense at first. The children had escaped their cages. The Thrin child was making an ultrasonic sound that shattered glass and made the guards clutch their ears. The crystal siblings were generating intense heat, melting through metal. The octopus child used its tentacles to operate controls it shouldn't be able to reach. But the most amazing thing was how they worked together. Each child used their unique abilities to help the others. They weren't panicking. They were fighting back. They're rescuing themselves. Doyun breathed. A small explosion rocked the building. The lock on their door melted away. The six-legged turtle child stood on the other side, one leg glowing with heat. Thank you. They ran back to the main room. Chaos everywhere. Guards were down, stunned, or unconscious. Alarms blared. Kaya's energy prison was offline, and she was free. She fought like a storm. 4 arms moved in perfect coordination. She didn't have weapons, but she didn't need them. Each strike was precise, devastating. Guards flew backward. Equipment shattered. She was fury given form. Taejin tried to run. Kaya caught him by the collar and lifted him off the ground with one hand. "These children," she growled, "are under my protection." She threw him against the wall. He slumped down, unconscious. Kaya turned to Doyun and Nari. Relief flooded her face. "You're alive." "We're okay," Doyun said. "How did the children?" "I don't know." They freed themselves. Kaya looked at the children gathered around Nari. "They're stronger than I thought." "They're—" Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had called the police, or maybe the alarms had automatically alerted authorities. "We need to go," Kaya said. "Now." They gathered the children and ran. Kaya led them through a back exit and into the night. They piled into Doyun's car, somehow fitting everyone. It was crowded, uncomfortable, and probably illegal. Doyun didn't care. He drove toward his house, hands shaking on the wheel. Nari sat in front, the Thrin child in her lap. The other children filled the back seat with Kaya. "We can't go back to your house," Kaya said. "They know where you live." "I know. I'm just getting supplies," and the other children. When they reached his house, police cars were already there. His neighbor, Hyunsu, stood on the lawn talking to officers. "Someone called in suspicious activity," Kaya observed. "Probably the mercenaries, trying to cause trouble," Doyun said. "Or my neighbor finally got too suspicious." They watched from a distance. Doyun's heart sank. His home, his safe space, was compromised. Where could they go now? His phone rang. "Eunji." "Doyun, where are you?" "I'm at the hospital and your sister is here." "She's frantic. She says you're in trouble and won't answer your phone. There are rumors about alien children and corporate raids." "What is going on?" "We're mourning." Quote, Doyun made a decision. "Eunji, I need your help. I can't explain everything right now, but children are in danger. Real danger. Can you meet me?" "Where?" He gave her an address, a park on the outskirts of town. Somewhere public but not too crowded. They arrived 20 minutes later. Eunji stood by her car, arms crossed, looking worried and angry. When she saw the alien children, her mouth fell open. "Doyun." "What?" "I'll explain everything," he said quickly. "But first, we need somewhere safe. Can you help?" Eunji stared at him. At Nari. At Kaya. At the collection of alien children, who looked up at her with frightened eyes. "You're asking me to harbor alien refugees from a corporation that's probably already calling me right now to find you?" "Yes." She sighed deeply. "You're insane." "You know that?" "I've been told." "Fine. My cabin. It's 2 hours north. Middle of nowhere. No one knows about it except family." "Thank you," Doyun said, relief washing through him. "Don't thank me yet. We still have 14 children missing, military and corporate forces searching, and probably about a dozen laws we're all breaking." She looked at Kaya. "And you are?" "Sentinel Kaya. Vril species." "Right. Alien warrior. Sure. Why not?" Eunji shook her head. "Get in your cars. Follow me." "And Doyun?" "Yeah?" "When this is over, you're explaining everything over a very large bottle of wine." They drove north through the night. Nari fell asleep against Doyun's shoulder. The children dozed in various positions. Kaya stayed alert, watching for pursuit. At the cabin, they unloaded everyone. It was cramped, but it was safe. Kaya checked her scanner. "I'm picking up stronger signals now. The remaining children are clustered in 3 groups, 8 in the deep forest, 4 near a lake, and 2 near a residential area. We'll rest for a few hours," Doyun said. "Then we search." He was exhausted, bruised, and scared. But they'd saved 9 children. They'd faced corporate mercenaries and lived. They could do this. Kaya stood by the window, looking at the stars. "I need to tell you something." she said quietly. I sent a distress signal before I lost consciousness at your home. My people will be coming. 2. That's good, right? Yes. But it also means my people will come to a world that tried to enslave children for profit. What will happen to your world when they arrive? Do-yoon didn't have an answer. He could only hope that his people, when tested, would choose compassion over profit. But right now, that hope felt very fragile. The next morning, they found 8 children in a cluster deep in the forest. The pods had landed close together, and the children had somehow found each other. They huddled together for warmth and comfort, scared but alive. Nari led the rescue again. She approached slowly, speaking softly, showing them pictures she'd drawn of their friends, already safe at the cabin. The children understood. They came willingly. 13 children safe, 10 to go. The next group was harder. 4 pods near a lake, but the lake was popular with hikers. Military patrols walked the area constantly. News helicopters circled overhead. Everyone was looking for the crashed spaceship and its cargo. Kaya scouted ahead, using her camouflage training. She moved like a shadow. Invisible. She found the pods hidden in a marshy area, half submerged in water. The children inside were wet and cold. One was sick, shivering with what might have been fever or hypothermia. Do-yoon wrapped them in emergency blankets and carried them back to the car. 17 safe, 6 remained. News reports showed Hansong Industries denying everything. Tae-jin appeared on television, his arm in a sling, claiming he'd been attacked by terrorists. No mention of alien children, no mention of illegal research, but other news emerged too. Anonymous tips reached journalists. Photos appeared online, showing the cages, the equipment, the corporation's plans. Someone was leaking information. Your friend Unji has been busy, Kaya observed, watching the news on a laptop. She's a doctor. She knows right from wrong. Public opinion started shifting. People asked questions. Why was a private corporation involved in alien contact? Why the secrecy? What were they planning? The government scrambled to respond. Official statements contradicted each other. No one seemed to know what was happening or who was in charge. That afternoon, they found 2 more children in a residential area. Someone had already found one pod and called the police. Officers surrounded it, unsure what to do. Kaya approached in broad daylight, wearing Do-yoon's hoodie. She walked straight to the police line. That pod contains a child, she said in English. I am here to retrieve them. The officers stared at her. One reached for his weapon. I am unarmed, Kaya said, pulling back her hood. Her alien features were now visible. I am a sentinel, a protector of refugees. These children fled a war. They need help, not imprisonment. A crowd gathered. People held up phones, recording. The moment was being broadcast live. Do-yoon stepped forward, standing next to Kaya. I'm a nurse. I've been helping care for these children. They're scared and hurt. Please, let us help them. The senior officer looked torn. I have orders to secure any alien artifacts. They're not artifacts, Do-yoon said. A woman in the crowd called out, Let them help! Those are babies! Others joined in. The crowd's mood shifted. They'd seen the leaked photos. They'd heard the stories. They knew something wrong had been happening. The officer made a decision. He stepped aside. 5 minutes. Then I have to follow orders. Kaya opened the pods. 2 children emerged, blinking in the sunlight. The crowd gasped, but didn't panic. People watched as Kaya gently guided the children to Do-yoon's car. Thank you, Do-yoon told the officer. The officer nodded. I have kids too. I couldn't just seal them away. 19 safe, 4 to go. But those last 4 were the hardest. They were spread far apart. One pod had landed on private property, and the owner refused to let anyone search. One was deep in terrain too rough for Do-yoon's car. One was near the military cordon around the main crash site. and the last one wasn't showing up on Kaya's scanner at all. They were running out of time. The pod's life support would fail soon. Kaya's people were coming. And when they arrived, they'd judge humanity based on what they found. Do-yoon sat in the cabin that evening, exhausted and discouraged. 19 children safe, but 4 still lost. He'd done his best. Why didn't it feel like enough? Nari climbed into his lap. Something she rarely did anymore at 8 years old. Dad, you look sad. I'm just tired, sweetie. We saved a lot of kids, she said. It is, but there are still 4 out there. Then we'll find them tomorrow. We don't give up. You taught me that. Do-yoon hugged her close. When had his daughter become so wise? That night, more help arrived. Do-yoon's sister Mireille showed up with supplies and questions. Hospital staff who'd worked with Do-yoon came offering assistance. Eunji brought 3 other doctors she trusted. You're not alone in this, Mireille told him. The next morning, they split into teams. Each group would search for one of the remaining children. They had phones, supplies, and determination. Do-yoon and Kaya went after the pod near the military cordon. It was risky, possibly illegal, definitely dangerous. They hiked through the forest at dawn, before patrols became heavy. Kaya led, her scanner held in front of her. The signal grew stronger. They found the pod in a crater, damaged worse than the others. The metal was buckled, the seals broken. Kaya's face went pale. The life support failed, she said quietly. Yesterday, maybe the day before. Do-yoon felt his heart sink. They were too late. Kaya opened the pod anyway. Inside lay a small child, motionless. They looked almost human, except for blue skin and delicate antennae. Too young, too small, too still. No, Kaya whispered. She reached in and lifted the child gently. Do-yoon checked for vital signs, knowing it was useless. The child was cold. No pulse. No breath. They'd saved 19. They'd lost 1. Kaya held the child against her chest, her face twisted with grief. You didn't fail, Do-yoon said, his own eyes burning. We tried. We did everything we could. It wasn't enough. They stood there in the forest, 2 people from different worlds, mourning a child they'd never known. Finally, Kaya laid the child back in the pod. We'll return for them. Give them proper rights. But now we must find the others. They returned to the cabin with heavy hearts. The news devastated everyone, especially Nari. But they couldn't stop. 3 children still needed them. Mireille's team found one by the lake, alive but weak, 20 safe. Eunji's team located another near a road. The pod damaged but functional. 21 safe. That left 2. The one on private property, and the one not showing on scanners. The property owner was named Jinho, a farmer who lived alone. He'd found the pod on his land and refused to report it. He wouldn't say why. Do-yoon drove to his farm alone, leaving Kaya hidden. A human face might be less threatening. Jinho met him at the door with a shotgun. No trespassing, sir. I'm not here to cause trouble. There's a child in that pod on your land. They're running out of air. Please, let me help them. How do I know you're not one of those corporate people coming to steal alien technology? I'm a nurse from Seoul Memorial Hospital. Jinho studied him for a long time. My son died in the military, he said finally. They told me it was for the greater good, for advancement, for progress. He lowered the gun. I won't let them use another child for their greater good. He led Do-yoon to his barn. The pod sat in a horse stall, covered with hay. Inside, a small reptilian child slept, still alive, still breathing. Take them, Jinho said. Keep them safe from people like the ones who took my boy. 22 safe. 1 to go. The last child was the mystery. No scanner signal, no confirmed location. Kaya theorized the pod might have been damaged beyond detection. or the child might have wandered away. They searched for 2 more days. Teams combed the forest. Volunteers checked every possible location. Nothing. Then Nari had an idea. What if the pod opened by itself? What if the kid got scared and ran away? It made terrible sense. A child, alone and terrified, might flee their pod and hide. They could be anywhere. They started checking reports of strange sightings. A woman reported seeing something unusual in her garden. A man claimed his dog found something odd in the woods. Most were false alarms, but one call was different. A teacher at an elementary school reported a strange child hiding in the supply closet. Nonverbal. Scared. Clearly not human. They rushed to the school. In the closet, huddled behind boxes, was a small alien child. They looked almost like a human toddler but with iridescent skin and large, black eyes. The child had been hiding for days, surviving on water from the bathroom and crackers left in the teacher's desk. Nari approached slowly. She'd brought drawings of all the other children. She showed them one by one. "See," she said gently. "Your friends. They're safe. We can take you to them." The child looked at the pictures. Recognition dawned. They reached out a small hand. 23. All accounted for. All safe except the one they'd lost. That night, Kaya's people arrived. The ship was massive, bigger than anything Earth had built. It appeared in the sky over Seoul. Impossible to miss. The world watched as it landed in an open field outside the city. Representatives from Earth's government rushed to meet them. News crews broadcast everything live. Humanity held its breath. Commander Rael exited the ship first, tall and imposing in ceremonial armor. Behind them came a delegation of Vrael warriors. Rael demanded to see the children immediately. Demanded to see Sentinel Kaya. Demanded answers. Doyun, Kaya, and all 22 surviving children met them at a government building, hastily prepared for the meeting. Security was intense. Cameras were everywhere. Rael looked at the children, healthy and cared for. Then at Kaya, alive and healing. The commander's expression shifted from anger to confusion. "Sentinel Kaya, your distress signal indicated you were under attack. You were dying. The refugee ship had crashed. We expected to find tragedy." End quote. "You nearly did, Commander," Kaya said. She gestured to Doyun. "This human saved my life. He and others like him saved all these children. At great risk to themselves." Tutu. Rael turned to Doyun. The commander's gaze was intense, measuring. "I'm Doyun. Just helped." Rael repeated. "You defended a dying warrior against armed hunters. You sheltered refugee children. You fought against your own people when they tried to exploit the helpless." "Not my people," Doyun said firmly. "Those criminals don't represent humanity." "Then who does?" Doyun gestured to the room full of volunteers, doctors, ordinary citizens who'd helped. "They do. People who choose compassion over profit. People who help because it's right." Rael studied them all. "We avoided your world. We believed humans were too dangerous, too unpredictable to trust. We thought you would exploit any weakness. Some of us tried to," Doyun admitted, "but more of us tried to help. Your species is young," Rael said. "You barely understand the galaxy. Yet you risked everything for children not your own." The commander knelt, bringing their height level with Doyun. "This is the greatest honor among my people. To protect the defenseless. You have shown more honor than we showed your entire species." The commander stood and addressed the cameras, knowing the whole world watched. Earth has been considered unworthy of joining the galactic community. Today, that changes. We offer Earth preliminary membership, a path forward to full status. Not because of your technology or your resources, but because of your compassion. Because one human nurse showed us what your species can be. The room erupted. People cheered, cried, hugged. History was being made. but Doyun just felt tired and sad for the one child they'd lost. Later, after the ceremonies and speeches, Kaya found him sitting alone. "You don't celebrate," she observed. "We lost one," Doyun said. "One child died because I wasn't fast enough." "You saved 22, Kaya said gently. "For my people, that is worth celebrating. For mine, losing one is worth mourning." Marning, Kaya sat beside him. "That is why Earth will join the galaxy. You grieve for every loss. You try to save everyone. It makes you vulnerable, but also strong." "I don't feel strong. Strength isn't the absence of fear or grief, Doyun. It's continuing despite them." Months passed. The children were reunited with families across the galaxy. Each family came to thank Doyun personally. They brought gifts, offered life debts, swore eternal gratitude. Taejin and Hansong Industries faced prosecution from both Earth and galactic authorities. The case set precedent. Crimes against refugees were universal crimes. Earth began formal negotiations to join the galactic community. Trade agreements were drafted. Technology exchanges planned. Cultural embassies established. And Kaya requested an unusual assignment. She asked to stay on Earth, to serve as a liaison and protector. "I would learn from this world," she told her commanders. "The world that surprised us all." They agreed. She became a regular presence in Doyun's life, teaching Nari self-defense, sharing stories of the galaxy, helping at the hospital with alien patients who now came to Earth seeking treatment. One night, 6 months after it all began, Doyun heard a knock at his door. His heart still jumped at unexpected knocks, probably always would. He opened the door to find an injured alien, different species than Kaya, bleeding and scared. Kaya appeared from the shadows where she'd been keeping watch. She smiled at him, her biomarkings glowing warm in the darkness. "Your home has become known," she said. "A sanctuary. When the lost need shelter, they come here." Doyun sighed, but he was already reaching for his medical bag. "Come on in. Let's get you patched up." Nari appeared at the top of the stairs in her pajamas. "Another one, Dad?" "Another one, sweetie." She grinned. "I'll get the first aid kit." The door closed. Inside, the work continued. Not because Doyun was special or heroic, but because he'd made a simple choice on a midnight. When he found a stranger in need, he chose to help. And sometimes, the smallest choices change everything. Outside, among the stars, word spread through the galaxy. Earth had joined them not through conquest or technology, but through something the ancient races had forgotten: compassion. Simple, human compassion. And the universe was better for it.